member of National Black Professional Lobbyist Association and managing attorney at Levitate Legal and Consulting. And I am so excited to be joined today with my pastor, John Heath, who also happens to be the Senior Manager of Governmental Relations and External Affairs at Turo. And in this session of Word on the Street, we're really going to take some time to allow anyone that's watching this to get to know Pastor Heath better, but also to learn about the vital role that government relations has played in shaping the business strategy and the community impact at Turo. We want to talk about how policies impact various industries across the broader governmental affairs communities through this program, Word on the Street. But today we are focusing on Turo and Pastor John Heath, who has really carved out a niche for himself in government relations. He has a broad array of experience from state and local government to nonprofit to corporate relations, which has made the perfect bed for him to be the lobbyist representing Turo, one of the nation's growing car sharing industry. So without further ado, I want to pass the mic to you, Pastor Heath, and I will ask you to start just by telling us a little bit about yourself and the work that you do at Turo.
Well, thank you so much, Terry. You know how much you mean to me, you and your family, your phenomenal husband. I'm Pastor John Heath, and as Terry shared, I am the senior manager for government relations and external affairs for Turo, which is the world's leading peer-to-peer car sharing company. Right now, I think we're at 14 or 15 years old. So we're an adolescent company. I'm also one of the extremely proud founders of the National Black Professional Lobbyist Association. I've worked in pretty much every level of government. I've been in ministry for 34 years now, 17 of which has been as a senior pastor. And so I marry all of those experiences, gifts, and talents in this role of lobbyist and government relations professional.
That's wonderful. Now, Pastor, I want to start by something that you and I have talked about offline in some of our conversations, and that's about how Turo has really impacting local economies. And I particularly want to hear about how it's impacting local economies and communities of color and among women. Would you share a little bit more about Turo's business model and how it gives people an opportunity to explore a profession that maybe they haven't thought about previously?
Well, I share with lawmakers literally all around the country. I think I'm the only staff member, a team member that has 50 state responsibility. But I share with lawmakers that Turo, unlike our rental car counterparts, we have a system that keeps dollars locally. That local host goes to the local garage, it goes to the local detailer. Everything stays local. Turo takes a very small portion, so it's not us taking the lion's share of profits and sending them to San Francisco. That's not the case. And we have recently done some studies that show that Black women are just killing it, crushing it on the platform. Most recently, my wife had a girls trip. The host that she got the van from was a Black man, retired sheriff. There are so many wonderful stories. We have folks from the API community who, in many cases, have been affected in California and their jobs disappeared, but they were able to start hosting. Our Latino and Latinas and Hispanic brothers and sisters are engaging in this micro business enterprise in a major way. But I am very passionate about seeing people like me on this platform, and we are making a difference. Turo's not the silver bullet, but it's certainly a tool to help shrink the wealth and income gap for certainly Black Americans and all others who find themselves as people of color.
Okay. Now let's switch gears because I do want to get into the connection between Turo
Mhm.
and the work and mission of the National Black Professional Lobbyists Association. So I know that you've been in governmental affairs for quite some time, and could really have your pick of places that you do this work. Talk to us about what about the policy objectives and governmental affairs models at Turo is really attracted you to this company, and why advocating for them in all 50 states, which is no small task that you've been given. Why is that so important for you to do at this point in your career?
Well, our CEO is just phenomenal. He certainly inspires all of us. So I'll certainly say that he is one of the reasons. Our leaders, Lou Bertuca and Laura Mano, who's expecting, she's a mommy to be, are fantastic leaders. And the liberty that they've given me to carve out this niche, to talk about how we marry techonomics and civil rights, how we use tech and peer-to-peer car sharing to participate in the evolution of the civil rights movement, which is the silver rights movement. And when I can push for a bill that codifies and allows peer-to-peer to operate properly, when I can work to make sure that there are proper and fair insurance metrics and insurance coverage demands in a specific state that help those hosts be successful and grow those businesses. We believe that, yes, it's nice to have the 2 or 3 cars, but we're really leaning into folks really making this a real business, a real lifeline that they can create generational wealth. And so that's part of this impetus that keeps me moving and keeps me plugging for the world's peer-to-peer car sharing leader.
You talked a little bit about some of the legislative and policy initiatives that Turo has advanced. I want to ask you to go a little deeper for us on that. Can you highlight a few legislative successes? And I know with you covering all the states, you I'm assuming you have different challenges in blue states versus red states. And I'd love for you to tell our audience, especially some of our younger lobbyists out
Mhm.
there who are learning to navigate the different politics and various legislatures. Talk to us a little bit about some of those legislative successes and how you've navigated different challenges depending on which state you're in.
Well, the good thing is I don't have to manage every state, but I'm generally involved in all of the states. And so I have primary states. But you talked about blue versus red. And what I believe I've perfected, and I believe I've helped our team perfect, is messaging that can cross pollinate. When we talk about economic opportunity, we can talk about that to the left side of the aisle in a way that's just as integral as we talk about that on the right side of the aisle. We can talk about ending generational poverty and opening up pathways and streams of income. But then on the right, we can talk about micro business enterprise, and that many folks on the right side of the aisle are very pro business, very pro initiative, if you will. And so we're able to take that same messaging and tailor it for the audience, still being integral, still pretty much saying the same thing, but understanding that oftentimes on different sides of the aisle, the language changes.
Mm. So much about what I think makes you an effective lobbyist is how authentic you are. You lobby and you speak to people in a way that sincerely Pastor John Heath.
Mhm.
And I think that's something that lobbyists probably often have to remind themselves of, to stay true to themselves. Can you talk to us about that? How has your previous experiences, both professionally and personally, how have they shaped your approach to advocating for policies that advance your company's interests and also that advance the interests of our community?
Sure. Well, I'm a kid from the hood, 237 Westland Street, 161 Earl Street. I'm a person who has really come from nothing, and God has allowed me to be in these great spaces. And I don't separate the preacher, prophet, pastor from the lobbyist. I tell people I'm a preacher 24/7. I just lobby some of the time. And that's what kind of guides me. And that's what I believe creates this authenticity, that my relationships with lawmakers are much deeper than the transactional relationship of trying to get a bill passed. I honor them as they honor me, in confiding in me, allowing me to be a consigliere or a counselor to help them through whether it's policy, political, or even life. And so I believe that authenticity then now allows me to be able to come to them with a policy priority, or a legislative priority, a regulatory priority, and they're able to receive that in a way that they know I'm not pulling the wool over their eyes. I'm not doing a fast one, because ultimately, I believe there's someone I got to meet one day, and I don't want to have that charged to me. And so I just believe that just me, being authentic, has opened the doors to really be received properly by lawmakers and allowed me to, have some success.
Okay. So, we have in NBPLA a broad range of members, both young and old. And to our folks watching this, I am going off script. We had a couple of questions we talked about that we would talk about on this interview, but Pastor and I have had many conversations over the years, and so I want to make sure everybody has a chance to get some wisdom, the wisdom that those of us who really know you get so often. And so I want to ask you, as a point of personal privilege,
Certainly.
to share some insight with lobbyists who are watching this interview, whether they're at the beginning of their career and the middle of their career, like myself, or if maybe they're thinking about moving on to something else. What insight do you have for the various folks who are watching this interview?
Well, I think specifically for lobbyists in general, Black lobbyists in particular, relationships are so critical. And you never know who's going to be where when. So I've just made it a practice to treat everybody kindly. A lot of times people are trying to reach people through LinkedIn. And I understand maybe you really don't want to be bothered by people. I actually answer those outreaches and actually respond to those messages. Why? Because that person who's at the very beginning could literally be somewhere, and I've it happened in my own life where people who have treated me poorly had to come back to me later when I was a senior advisor to a governor, or when I was a chief of staff for a senator. So this idea of relationship, treating everyone properly,
Hmm.
and certainly being authentic. And I would add this: kindness is the new superpower. Let me say that one more time. Kindness is the new superpower. So for many of us, we grew up with, be cutthroat, and that's how you get to the top. No, what I've found is kindness has opened doors for me, that quite frankly, no man can shut.
Ooh, ooh, that's powerful. We talk about, I was reading a book, Pastor, about relationships and how so many people look at relationships as vertical. Like I'm here and either
Mhm.
I'm talking to someone that's above me in stature or below me in stature, when really we need to approach our relationships as horizontal.
Absolutely.
We are all the same with different things to bring to the table. So I love that piece of wisdom. Let me ask you this. Let's talk about NBPLA and your involvement from the very beginning of this organization. Tell me what that's meant to you in your career.
It has meant everything to you're a member of a Divine Nine sorority.
Alpha
You
Kappa Alpha.
come on now, ski wee in the house, and and the pride that you can have with your founders, who when they were founding Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, um, I don't think they understood
Yeah.
the profundity and that one day one of their members would be the vice president of the United States. That's how I see NBPLA. The scripture tells us to not despise the day of small beginnings. So we're still in this infancy phase. But when I die, this is part of my legacy. And we've informally I've done an inventory. I think I shared with you that over the last 2 years, I've helped people get raises or new jobs, new positions, or promotions. Uh, Altogether, that's about $1.5 million. I've got a mentee right now that I've been shepherding and helping. And this powerful young lady who most people maybe would have forgotten, didn't see her for who she really is. This young lady now has stock that's in the multiple hundred thousands. It's a game changer for her family. It's a game changer for her. And so, what you have to understand is that you can make money and do good.
Mhm.
And that's how I shifted into the corporate from public and nonprofit. Is I had a person pull me aside and say, Pastor, you're helping all these people around the country. You do know that you can make money and do good. It was revolutionary for me. And because of that, I'm in what many people would consider a dream home on a lake in a gated community, because I chose to take a step of faith, take a leap of faith, and allow myself to be placed in an arena that many people think is just horrible and detestable. But there are so many wonderful lobbyists. They are not all charlatans and sneaky people. I tell people, if you're on food stamps, guess what? There's lobbyists trying to make sure that they don't cut your stamps anymore. Or if you have dealt with unjust incarceration, the list goes on down the line. We have people that are fighting for those things. And so it's been an honor to create something that will expand the pool and empower our members to really shoot for the moon. And if we don't reach the moon, at least we're in the stars.
I love that. I know for me personally, this organization has really opened my eyes to the many layers of lobbying and governmental affairs. As a lobbyist, a former lobbyist in Alabama, I think what I saw was limited. And talking
Mhm.
with members from all over the country, seeing how corporate entities approach governmental affairs versus nonprofit entities versus contract lobbyists, and also for me as someone on the peripheral of lobbying as a policy attorney.
Mhm.
There are all of these other opportunities outside of the direct lobbying process that are so integral to
Mhm.
government affairs and external affairs and public policy. And I think that's one of the greatest benefits of the NBPLA is because it really will open everyone's perspective as it has yours, as it has mine, and so many others. And
But
you,
Terry,
you
may I just add this, if I
yes,
may?
absolutely.
I can count numerous MBPLA members whose firms, books of business, uh, their positional stature have all increased since we started this
Mm,
organization. That's not lost on me.
it's powerful.
And maybe they're like the nine lepers that ain't coming back to say thank you, but there's one or two that are going to come back and say, you know what, this organization has really empowered me in a way that perhaps I would not be empowered previously.
I love that. I'm hearing an economic impact study in our future,
I
um,
believe
to,
that.
to
Yes.
really quantify the value that this
Mhm.
organization has brought its members. So, for anyone watching this, shoot our executive director, Frankie Robertson, an email, please, if you have been mentored or impacted, or if someone within this organization has helped you level up in your career over the last 3 years that we've really been gathering together as a group. I think that's really important for us to know that, to hear that. It's encouraging to all of us, and I think it pushes us to keep supporting each other and nurturing each other in the way that we need to grow within this profession. I think we've got enough time for me to ask you one more question. We've kind of touched on this, but can you really give me the top lines on how your involvement as a member with the NBPLA has added value either to yourself and or to Turo, your company?
Sure. Well, I think, certainly this organization and its commitment, it it really has elevated Turo in many respects because it's kind of symbiotic. I'm part of Turo, I'm part of NBPLA, but then also it's given that perch to really be a recognized mentor to now hundreds of people, which is growing literally weekly. But I'm up to that task. I relish in that task because there are going to be lives and families that change because we took an idea that everyone was talking about and we made it reality. When Greg Jones was like, "Leader, what we need to do," I said, "You're going to be the chair, not me." He called in Yolanda Cash Jackson, who I'm still ashamed to this day that I didn't know. And then we created this entity that we are determined to make a best in class organization that is transforming the corporate firm and other landscapes by growing this body of lobbyists that look like you and me.
I love it. I love it. Well, listen, Pastor, thank you so much for your time. I want to just share a couple of my takeaways from our time today. First of all, if you're watching this and you are not familiar with Turo, we want to encourage you to go to that website and get familiar with the work that is happening at Turo, opening all sorts of doors for communities to have alternative income sources with the vehicles that they already have. And,
Already have.
and so that distinguishes them from some of the similar but different companies out there within that same line. So go to Turo, learn more about that. We also learned about the importance of authenticity in this profession and always staying true to who you were made to be. Kindness will get you a long way.
It will.
Authentic
The new
kindness.
superpower.
It is the new superpower. And finally, we just want to again encourage everyone to continue their active engagement in the NBPLA. Thank you to all of you who have joined, who are thinking about joining. Please know that we welcome you. And Pastor, I want to thank you one more time. Thank all of our NBPLA sponsors. And normally, as the interviewer, I would close. But Pastor Heath, I want to give you the opportunity to close us out today.
Sure. Well, we also have our annual conference coming up in August. So please go to www.nbpla.org to find out more about the conference. I close with the words of Benjamin Mays. I only have a minute, 60 seconds in it. Forced upon me, I did not choose it. Give account if I abuse it, suffer if I lose it. Only a tiny little minute, but eternity is in it. I want to encourage you to make the most of your minute, make your life count, make someone else's life better. And that's where your legacy will live. Thank you.